It's great to have you on, man. So before we get into it, uh, we've talked a little bit about it on like Messenger a little bit. What was your life like before Handsome Beast? Like what were you doing before the band?
Uh, just trying out with local bands and what have you. Going to see local bands more than major acts because Birmingham back then was a hive for all that sort of punk and new weapon bands. There were so many places you could go to see top quality bands. So, I mean, I wanted to do this from the age of 8. So it was no surprise to me when I ended up doing it. But going to see the bands, and the Handsome Beasts were one of them, because I'm obviously not an original member from the start. But I used to go and see them, ended up roadieing and sound engineering for them, and then eventually ended up being in the band for 20, 30 years now. So yeah, just normal run of the mill what kids did of my age back then.
Yeah.
You know,
And you mentioned, that whole like new wave of British heavy metal. Personally, I've never really connected the two. I know that all the Handsome Beast always gets put into that pool of new
yeah,
wave of British heavy metal, but I feel like it's on its own. It's on its own level.
yeah.
It's more of like I actually thought it was like an American hard rock band when I first heard it and then looked into it a little bit. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Okay. Do you agree?
Yeah,
Do you think it doesn't really fit in with the new wave of British heavy metal?
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. It's just that the press like to pigeonhole everything, like, and we never was that. I mean, that first album, there's elements of punk in there. The band's always been like a blues rocky type of band, really. It's just me that's extended it further past that with the later albums and what have you. But Flabby always was into his blues rock. He was a big Paul Rogers fan. That was one of his heroes, and he when towards the last, especially the last album that we did with him before he died, he was he wasn't overly enthused about the heaviness of it, like because we did some drop D tuning songs on there, and to him that was just like, oh my god, sacrilege, you know. But it doesn't matter on what album, we always had to put a couple of blues tracks on to keep him happy, really. Like, but
It's a great
he was,
blend.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't pigeonhole us. I really don't know because we've all got different influences, and we can't really. I hate it when people say you're a new weapon band or you're this type of band. We're just a rock band doing what
Yeah.
we love, you know. And at the end of the day, that's all it is.
Well, even like back in the day, didn't the band open for like Motorhead on like a couple occasions?
And
I'm trying to
that
remember.
they've opened for a few acts back then. I remember, was it Nottingham Rock City opening for Slaughter, American act that had come over and that. So yeah, we've opened for a few bands. It's really started taking off after that first album, especially when Tommy Vance played us on the rock show, and it was the first Monsters of Rock, as I recall. So it was on. He played the whole album, which was unheard of back then, and he got such a good response that he played it the following week, and that was the only play. That was the only radio station in the UK that played rock music, right? And that was just between the time slot of 10, is it 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. and that was it. That's all you got in this country. They wouldn't play rock music and that
They
on the
played the
radio.
whole record.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And
Yeah, which
then
is unheard of, like you said.
yeah, yeah, and then obviously got us in to do an interview, and Flabby and Steve did the interview at Pebble Mill Studios in Birmingham. I remember that one because I was still in the green room getting drunk. Like while he was doing, because obviously Flabby was the the vocal main piece of the band, but he hated talking to people, or he hated people, period. Because he was in the wrong business, he really was, really. But I miss him dearly.
Mm. Well,
I think
I do appreciate you taking the time out to do this interview, I guess, or more podcast, you know. And it seems like the band, it was big. There, you know, everyone was big partiers back in the day. Were you in that circle too? The Handsome Beast must have been crazy. In the
um
green room after gigs. Is that
oh
true?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially
I
listening to
mean,
like David's song and stuff. It's like they must be going crazy.
yeah, yeah, there was a lot of that going on. Plus the stage show was really mad as well, because we had stocks that we used to throw people in and custard pie 'em, like, but we couldn't afford the cream, so we used shaving foam. And once they got that in their eyes, they were screaming, sort of thing, for a long time. And then, of course, you had Steve with his red contacts that used to really glow red. He had a UV light above him on his stage where he was on the stage. And during the one song, Give Him a Lash, we'd whip Flabby's belly with a cat of nine tails. Steve would come out with his gimp mask on with rapist written across the top. And he had this, I hope I'm not being, I hope I can say this, but he had this huge strap on dildo behind his bass, right? So he'd take the bass off and he'd start stroking this thing. He'd squeeze the balls and it'd shoot out milk. So you go in the audience, they'd be going up to the women. Of course, they'd be pouring drinks over him, and it was it was a good show. But Flabby wanted it to be more the music than the show. But people loved that show. They were queuing up to be put in the stocks. I don't know why, but you know,
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel any like playing now? Do you feel any pressure to like live up to those like glory days of like the crazy antics on stage?
um, no, not really. I know Flabby wanted to veer away from it, and we did. Um,
Why is that? Just because it was just too showy and it's more about the music?
yeah, to him, it was all about the music, you know. And as for the show, with a live, energetic band, you know, it's a very energetic sort of, like, everyone's moving around everywhere, and it's like that's the show now more than the gimmicks and the pyros and whatever. Because we stopped doing them after we got burnt a few times, and we had a few accidents with that. Because we used to make our own confetti bombs with a cardboard box and a maroon in, with all that papery stuff, confetti. And the thing is, if you did it too tight, it would set the confetti on fire, and it used to go off from the roof all over the audience, and they'd be setting them on fire. Now, if you imagine back in the 80s with the air metal and all the hairspray, it was a
Yeah.
pretty volatile thing. You know, there was a few people being set on fire, sort of thing. And then we used to strap them to the guitars as well, and that sort of went amiss a few
Wow.
times. Like so, yeah, we put the kibosh on that. Well, actually, the law did, because the law came out and you had to be a pyrotechnician, which to buy these things, where before you could just walk in off the street and buy them, which is what I used to do. So I used to go and buy these pyros, and like some of them were too powerful for where we were playing, and there'd just be a curtain of hot magnesium in front of you, like, because it'd be
Holy
bouncing off
shit.
the roof and coming down. It looked killer. Like, and
I
then like
bet.
when that dropped, the first two rows would be climbing over the people at the back, trying to get away from being set on fire again. So yeah, there was just mad shit like that happened all the time.
What? So, you talked about earlier, like kind of your introduction working behind the scenes. Could you like elaborate on that a little bit? And I also want to know what your first exposure to the Handsome Beast were. Was it that Bestiality album?
No,
Was it a connection through a friend? Did you meet them personally before?
What it was, I turned up to this venue, like I says in Birmingham back then, you could go see great bands any day of the week. And I just walked into the pub, the public house bar, you'd call it, wouldn't you? So just walked into the bar and they were playing. I thought, oh my God, this is awesome. Where have they been all my life, sort of thing. And then I got chatting to them and that. And then my best mate, his mate, was the cousin of Flabby's. That was it, Flabby's cousin. He was married to Flabby's cousin, sorry. And that's how I got to meet them. And then obviously doing all the rig hires and that, because back then you had to own your own PA because venues didn't have PAs, and so you had this massive rig. I mean, it was it was big. So of course I started working doing the PA, and then to make money, we'd hire it to other bands. So we'd go out and do sound engineering work and what have you, and that's how I sort of got to got in, if you like, the foot through the door sort of thing. But Flabby wasn't really interested in continuing the band because there was a period after the Little Sister album he weren't too into doing it, and we were working on the Psycho Ward project with some friends, and we were gigging it as well. But the singer was in America at the time, so Flabby stood in, and I'm so glad he did because he went, I want to do it again. He said, let's go out as the Handsome Beast. Let's do the Handsome Beast. So that was wow. Because I always wanted to do that, you know. It was always a big thing for me because I love the music, you know, and I could play all. He says to me, he says, can you play any of the songs? I went, name one, pick one that you've never done live. I could play all of them off the albums, all of them, because that they were my sort of heroes, if you like. Do you know what I mean? And I loved his
Local
voice.
heroes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Again, if you listen to the lyrics on that, that's what that's about. Like, you know, it's about playing the club scene and wherever else and getting that first record deal, you know, which wasn't luck that we got that. It's just that heavy metal records. The guy who started heavy metal records was our manager, and he couldn't give us away with a box of cornflakes. So he said, "Sorry, I'll start my own label," and there you go.
First band, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that, and of course, you went on about the album cover. Well, that one, because we couldn't afford fancy artwork like all the bands were doing back then, we just went for the most shock value, really. Do you know what I mean? It was cheap because I always remember Paul Birch, who owns the record label and was the manager. He says to Flabby, "Can you get in the pig pen with the pig, Edna?" Like, and he went, I'm not getting in there. He went, no, no. He said, if you take all your clothes off and get in, you'll be fine. So, so
They'll fit
yeah.
right in.
So, yeah, of course, Edna and Flabby got on like a house on fire. You love that pig. Like, and that's where the logo and things come from. So he was using the shock value, especially with the name of the album and whatever else. It's more like a shock thing, which is what the punk bands were doing, like the Sex Pistols, with the title of that album, and obviously the picture of the Queen with the safety pin through her nose.
For
So all
sure.
that's like a shock thing, isn't it? So he was using that type of, and of course, it got the worst album cover review, which was brilliant, which is what we wanted, because people sometimes remember the top album cover, but they certainly remember the worst one. And we've been on so many TV shows because of that cover. And then the second one with the Doberman looking up the skirt that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jane like. So, and it all went down that road because that's what we wanted because we got in magazines because of having the worst album cover and still do today. If you type that in Google, it'll come up worst album covers.
Yeah, well,
So
that's how I discovered the band, because
yeah,
I saw that
see?
on a list of worst album covers, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then listened to it, and it was like, how have I not heard this ever? It's like the most underrated music, And it's
Yeah,
like, how is
yeah.
this not getting radio play? Like Sweeties and everything, just so excellent.
Oh, see, there's
Yeah,
another one. There's another one that's a bit near the knuckle today, but it wasn't to do with what people think it is.
really.
They're all no, no. It was about see because Mel Bassett, the drummer, the original drummer, he was really young, and he and the girls that used to get into him were 16, 17, where the lads were in the 20s then. And so Flabby writted about him because he come from a place called Nuneaton. That's where it's down Nuneaton with me bag of sweets outside the school gates when it's time for home. It was just written about him. And if you look at the single cover, it's like one of the girls off the St. Triniad's movies. I don't know if you've seen them
Yes.
before. And it's done tongue in cheek, but in today's world, that can be seen as being a bit near the knuckle. Like, but
Well, we're
Flabby wouldn't
talking
even.
so long ago too, you know.
Yeah, yeah, 40 odd years ago,
Yeah.
it was a long time, man. I mean, you know, and back then it was all tongue in cheek sort of thing, and it was acceptable.
Yeah.
But today you can't do it. But there's been a few radio interviews that Flabby did, and when they asked him about that, because what's the story behind the was it risky lyrics and what have you? He went, what risky lyrics you on about? There's no risky lyrics in there. And they just delete that from the interview because he was like, he was, yeah, paedophilia is perfectly fine, but it isn't, obviously. But
Yeah.
you've got to take it in the context of how it was written and why it was written and that, really.
Yeah, and it's
But
also like look at the cover as well. It's like you think it's gonna be like a children's album, you know? It's like it's called Bestiality.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was curious what your thoughts were on that because like being it like I wasn't sure if you thought it was like because seeing it in a list of like worst albums of all time, I wasn't sure if you agreed with that. But like I do
Yeah.
think it's like, I do think an album makes or breaks a band. And I think there's some debate on whether that's a terrible album or like secretly one of the best album covers of all time. And personally, myself, I wish you guys would put that on a t-shirt at some point. That would
Yeah,
be really
okay.
funny to wear. Um,
Well, if we do, we'll send you one.
please, please,
Yeah,
please.
for
But
sure.
it's just, it is so, and that's funny to hear the backstory. I thought this was like an American band. I'm like, they must be in Kentucky or something at some farm.
Nah,
Scott's
nah.
Pig. Oh,
I
that's
mean,
great.
we all come from the second largest city in the UK, so seeing a pig was just a novelty anyway, because none of us, and as for seeing fields and that, because we grew up on housing estates, bad neighborhoods, rough neighborhoods. And so to see that was just like, oh my God, look at all this grass and land. We've not seen that before.
Yeah.
And it was just like, whoa, look at all that. Because it was like being on holiday or vacation, you'd call it. Because it was like, I couldn't get my head around all the openness and that. And then obviously with the pig and what have you, because Birch tried to get in with the pig, but Edna went for him, sort of thing, went to bite him. Yeah, so we
Edna.
jumped the 5 bar gate. And then when Flabby got him naked, the pig was all over him, loved him.
And
Look,
then the
yeah,
name of the album was born.
yeah, yeah. From that, yeah, yeah,
Was it actually from that? It was from the Pig Loved Him. So it's like, you know what? I think I have an idea for the name of the record. Or was
yeah,
the name
yeah.
before? Okay,
No, no, pop, no. It was mainly the pig came first before the album name. Like plus again the shock value of it. I think that's what
for sure.
but going for really. Like all of them are that way. I mean, when Little Sister got put out, because it come out in two different versions. There was Filthy Lucre, where Flabby was in a bath full of money, and there was the proper Little Sister album, which was a nun sitting on the toilet with a habit itched up, stockings, and all that one, reading NME, which was a big music paper back then. Of course, we were in that, and that's how that one come about. So the more
Which that was
crappy that,
recorded in the 90s, right?
Yeah,
Little
yeah.
Sister, and then came out in what, '07,
Yeah,
I
because
think.
it was put on hold a lot because obviously Birch was going through disbanding his label, which he never did because he was going to go bankrupt. Um, because he's a crook. But
What do you mean?
like all of them, well, I can't really say.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
I'm not really gonna say some of the
I
shit he
respect
got
it.
up to, But they were doing.
There's some
I
antics
remember.
though.
Oh, and then some. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's how you have to get on. I think your manager does have to be a part crook to get the deals and wherever else, really.
Well, we're talking like the early '80s, and the band was formed in like what, '73 or like early
Oh,
'70s,
mid 70s, I'd say. About mid 70s,
and
yeah,
it was
because
just so, it was so lawless back then, from what I've heard, like in terms of the music industry and labels and
oh,
managers.
good God,
So
yeah, yeah,
it makes sense.
yeah. I mean, Sharon's dad was the worst. Don Arden,
Yeah,
he was the
famously.
biggest crook of all of them. And I got a few friends that were under him and wherever else, and they got ripped off. But you still get ripped off today, but it's more financially. Like what they'll do is they'll take a young band, or well, they did it to us on the last album when Flabby died before it was released. So,
Really?
so yeah, so instead of advertising it and pushing it as his last piece, like they just sit on it, and then when it comes to the end of the tax year, the record label go, well, it cost us 35K to produce the album, and we've had X amount of K back, so we're at a loss of this much, and that's tax deductible. So they'll use the bands as a tax deduction and do that on purpose to make sure that they don't sell because they won't advertise it. And that still happens today. That still
Terrible.
goes on. Yeah,
What a
well,
shame.
the album cover as well on the last one because I wanted the black album cover with the pig logo with and embossed on it and swine song written underneath instead of swan song. So
That's
swine
great.
song, connection. I wanted that done, and in the end, they did this horrible rusty cover or something around. But that don't even fit in the genre of the stuff that we're doing. Of having a real bad record cover to tell us that way.
Yeah, I was curious about that. That's so interesting.
Well, that
So,
was a record label. I wasn't
yeah.
happy with the mix on that as well because normally I sit with the engineer and mix it because I see. To me, if it falls or it rises by something that I've done, that's fine. That's on me. But if it falls because of someone else's decision that has nothing to do with the band other than fronting the money and the studio time, then it wears on me. If I make a decision and it fails, that's all on me. Hands up. I made the wrong move. But if it does that on someone else that's not connected to the band, then it niggles me. And that's what they
Yeah.
were doing. That's what they did. So I wasn't happy with the mix on it. I also definitely wasn't happy with the cover and that because and then obviously we had to cut some of the things because they said it's not radio friendly that we couldn't really play that one track because of the pig making that woman have an orgasm on it. Yeah, the track called Animal on
Yeah.
there at the end. I mean, we were just cracking up laughing. It was brilliant. But the guy who owned the record label went, no, we can't have that. Like,
Do you
because
have the rights to this music? And do you have like the master tapes or the multi-tracks at all? Have you thought about maybe remastering it and putting it back
we
out?
we thought about that, but it's getting hold of them because he won't do it unless there's money involved. Like
Um,
so, because Heavy Metal Records asked us to put a box set out of all the albums, which has been great. But the studio where we did it, which was the Q Music studio, the old Smithy in Worcester, uh, Birch didn't pay him for the Beast Within album, according to Muff, who owns the studio. And Birch said that he did pay him, but that was a legal thing going on between them, and he wouldn't give him the rights to the Beast Within album until it was paid, so we couldn't get the box set out. So now, because he owns that and the Rock and a Hard Place, like there's just no way we could get our hands on. We thought about
That's
redoing
awful.
it and just taking the Claddy's vocal off there because you can do that today. Today's technology, like but the old stuff back in then was done on a 2-inch master tape, so you can't, getting the old ones redone now is really hard.
Yeah.
It take a lot of money as well to do, and it's money we haven't got, sort of thing. Because the new album, Brethren, hopefully be out next year, is
Great.
what we put together ourselves. Because I'm sick to death of record labels ripping me off, so I want to do it all. But that takes time because building the money up to getting for the next studio session and whatever. Plus, I've had a year and a half, nearly 2 years now off to get over my heart attack that I had. So it's a slow process, but hopefully next year the new album will be out. I mean, we've been indicted with people asking about when's it coming out, when's the next Handsome Beast stuff, because we've got a big following, and they all, every, I don't think there's a week that's passed where I don't get some form of email, the band, and I'm saying, when's it coming out? When can we expect it? You know what I mean? Because that they've heard some of the tracks because I like to play them all live before they're recorded, and then it gets that better feeling across on record. Because I hate piecing things together. I won't do that. The band won't have any of that. We won't go, oh, that was a good chorus, that was a good verse. Let's cut and paste them together. Nah, it's got to be the performance,
Yeah.
with us all together. That's where it comes from. That's how albums were done back in the day, especially back in our day, and that's why you had to be good musicians back then. You can't just, oh, well, it's all right, I'll put you in time with the click of a button.
Yeah.
The drummer's not quite there, well, then play it properly. Put
Yeah,
your
now
finger
you can move around every
out.
single note, every single little bit, it's all so technical now. It's pretty wild.
It's pretty easy to do. The average person can do it because the software is really good to be able to do that
What do you
sort of thing.
use?
Uh, Reaper
Nice.
is what I like to use. And that, but I want, as I said, I want a live because we've all got, well, mainly the guitarists have got big desks and whatever else to record on and that, and onto the PC and that. But Reaper's about, you know, they're all good at what they do. I don't think there's a real big difference between them all. I think it's your interface that really matters. Have a nice Apollo system or something, and that will
Yeah.
run up a Cat 9 cable from the desk. That's the other one. Like, but it's good to have there if you do need to alter something quickly. But there's no way on the planet I'm accepting one verse, one chorus, and pasting it. That's not what we're about. Never has been. We old school. We come up the hard way. It wasn't like, well, how many likes and subscriptions have you got? It's like, okay, get in a van, let's travel 300 mile that way. And we're playing a gig in front of, at first time you play there, you might play in front of one guy in a flat cap and a whippet. And then the next time you play there, there's two whippets. It all depends. You work to it, sort of thing. Where today it's social media. If you haven't got the likes and what have you on social media, the young bands won't get a record deal.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
They've
certain
got to,
followers you need and stuff.
yeah,
It's terrible. It's not really about the music anymore. It's about your
oh,
status in the online world.
that's
It's
it.
terrible.
That's it. That's it. I mean, the music's give away today because you don't make a lot from it. You get more from your merch sales, but you need that musical product to get out to do the bigger gigs, the festivals, where you make your money from your merch sales. Even though we get paid pretty well for doing the festivals, the merch triples it. And because it's such a sellable image with the pig and
Yeah.
whatever else, and that's good. That one that's online where was it the Rock and Blues Custom Bike Show? the Scorpions were headlining that night, and we nearly outsold them in the merch. They've got
Really?
everyone wants the pig. Everyone wants the pig.
I
So,
want the
we've
pig.
got patches and all sorts, it just goes, and that's where the money is. That's where a lot of the the contracts today, especially for young bands that might be watching this, like read that small print because they want a really big percentage of your merch. That's where the money is. They know
And
this.
yeah, not only that, venues as well now will take like a third of like
Yeah,
merch
yeah,
sales. It's ridiculous. Bands are now selling their merch outside the venue, which they should. If venues like they're making enough money as it is selling $20 beers, it's like, come on.
yeah. That's it. You got it. We had that in Wales. We did I won't mention the promoters of that. They wanted 40% and told them to fuck off.
Of the
Like,
merch.
no way. Yeah, yeah. So what we did,
40%.
yeah, because it's online as well, isn't it? So everything's
It's like
online today.
half of the sales. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. So we got on stage. So there's no merch sale here, but if you buy it now online from the website, you're going to get 30% discount. How's that? And of course,
Yeah.
everyone's on the phones and doing that, like. And then the promoter come up to me afterwards and said, like, that was out of order. Oh, yeah. Was it really? I mean,
40% of the sales, you make no money then. How do
yeah,
you make a profit even?
exactly. Exactly. It's greed. The promoters make the most money on venues for sure. I mean, there's a few that I know
Yeah,
of that are really good and honest, like, but a lot of them, they're just there to screw you over.
it's such a
Well, they're there to
shame.
make money. It's business, but the thing of it is, there's greed, and it's the greed in the world today is ridiculous. Like everything's done through the roof, price wise for everything, and still going. And the multimillionaires are getting richer, and the poorer are getting poorer, which is how they want it, really.
Yeah, housing is impossible now. It's just
Oh, yeah, tell me about it. I mean, ridiculous now, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I live down on the south coast now. I left Birmingham as soon as I could.
mm.
I
When was
that
that?
23 years ago, 24 years
Okay.
ago, something like that, because I just couldn't handle living there anymore. So I went and lived in the countryside, which is brilliant. I like that, and then ended up moving down here with the missus, and it was just been bliss. I live by the sea, so I get to go out on the sea every day if I want to. I walk along the beach. I mean, where I grew up on the council estate, you just went for a walk on the pavement or the sidewalk, you call it, and you duck up with your mates, and then you go and kick it off with another load of kids from another area, and that was your entertainment for the night. You get fighting,
Must have
sort
just
of
been like
thing.
an industrial nightmare over there, right? Like
Yeah.
just not really any kind of nature,
Oh,
like
good God,
all,
no.
yeah,
No, no, not. The thing is, when you're growing up like that, you know no different. So obviously no internet, you didn't know what it was like. And as for going to San Francisco with a flower in your hair, that was just like, yeah, yeah, pipe dream, whatever. I mean, the first time I went to the States, and I fell in love with the place,
yeah.
and,
Open
oh,
fields, plenty of pigs.
yeah, yeah. Mind you, the first time I went, it was Miami, so it was just like beach and whatever, yeah, and Everglades and that. But I got to admit, I do like the West Coast more.
Was that for a gig or just like vacation?
Well, I went out there to try and find work for us. Really, I was, touting and that, and trying to see how much we could get away with doing it for, but the cost was just horrendous to get us all over there.
Yeah.
And that it didn't work out. I'd have gambled it, but the band's a democracy. We vote. Everyone's as important as the next one, and that. So, and it
Which
was
as it
no.
should be, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a family. We're a family. We're brothers. And it's that's how it is. everything gets split 5 ways. Don't care who's written what. I mean, I write most of the music, but it doesn't bother me. Whatever money comes in gets split 5 ways, like it should.
Yeah,
That's how I know.
I always assumed Flabby was like the band leader, and I guess
It
maybe
was.
he kind of was in a sense, but like even back in the day, was it still like a very family oriented? There was no
Yeah.
real like, hey, we're gonna do this, this, and this. Like it was all very tight knit.
Yeah, I mean, he did have his ways. If he didn't think a gig was worth doing or it wasn't going to benefit the band in any way, he wouldn't do it. It's as simple as that. You go, no, because we'd get offers coming and go, yeah, it ain't a lot of money, but we can do it. He says, no, we're not a tuppenny penny band. If you want us, you pay. Because if you do one like that, you're going to be doing them all like that. Because
Yeah.
that's what you'll be. You'll be £150 a night band instead of a £500 a night band. Do you know what I mean? Or £1,000 a night band. He says, nah, because like you got to set your sights high. You
Know your
can't have,
worth.
uh, you know, it, he was very wise. He was a very wise man. He might have been a grumpy bastard, but like he was a very very wise man. Like
What are some of
uh,
your favorite memories of him?
having to keep talking to him on planes because like he just couldn't handle people. Right?
Really? On
Yeah. Oh yeah.
planes?
And Mark, the other guitarist, he was getting constantly told off by this gay steward guy because he was sitting the wrong way in his seat, leaning over, talking to Flabby. Because if you keep Flabby occupied, he doesn't start thinking that he's in a cigar-shaped tube full of strange people, right? Because he hated them, sort of thing. So of course, by about the fourth time, the steward had a right go at him, like him. Flabby was sniggering and what have you. But when we got, I think was it Estonia or Russia we were doing. Anyway, getting off the plane, Mark stopped and kissed him as he got off the plane. And this guy went blushing and whatever else. And then the other time, trying to get on the plane, and because we have armed police at the airports in this
Mhm.
country, and the one policeman said, "Oh, you in a band? Have you all got guitars?" And you're in a band. And Mike says, "Yeah, you're in a band. How is Sting?" And like the police written on it. Maybe he's grabbed him by the scruff of his neck and frog marched him down the aisle onto the plane because we didn't want to get arrested, like because
Yeah.
Mark doesn't like police officers, and he was giving this guy jip and whatever. So, oh, there was loads of things like that. He was always doing it. He was always doing mad stuff. Floody was always telling people where to get off, mainly reporters. Uh, we had to stop him doing that because obviously it's part of the business. You got to interviews, you got to talk to people. So we just used to get him back to the hotel, and we had this one woman ask us, "Where's Flabby?" I said, "Oh, he's back at the hotel drinking tea, catching up on the cricket results." That's a sport we play over here, a bit like
Yep.
rounders, but not like rounders. You seen it, yeah? And
Familiar.
she went, "No, but where is he really?" And I went, "He's back at the hotel watching the cricket and drinking tea." Yeah, I know, but where is he really? I thought, oh my God. So actually, he's back at the hotel with two high class prostitutes and enough cocaine to keep South California going for a day. Oh, that's more like it. I'm thinking, like, what? Do you know what I mean? It's just like, of course, when he turned up to the venue, I said, "You got to pretend you're on cocaine, Flavie." And he went, "I already am." And just breezed past, sort of thing. So, yeah,
That's
he
great.
was, he was he was great, man. He
It
really
just
was. I
seems like
mean,
such a fun band to hang with. And Flabby, must have been such a fun hang. Such a great guy.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing of it, even today with gigs, we always say, look, if you like what we do, come in, let's hang out, let's have a few beers together. Do you know what I mean? Let's
Yeah.
get drunk, let's enjoy. You can pick your troubles up and your prejudices and your religions at the door on your way out. That's still going to be there, trust me. But while you're in here with us, we're all family. Let's all get together, have a good drink, what have you, have a laugh, a smoke, and all that one. I reckon
Yeah.
that's been the philosophy of the band all along. like for us to just enjoy and have fun. I mean, when we did the one in Milton Keynes, some metal festival, there was this group of Japanese guys, and I said to them, because they were saying, and some beats, like that. And I'm going, all right, I says, you exchange students? No, no, we've come from Japan to see you. I go, you've what? And he goes, well, we've flown from Japan just to see you. And I go, like, if you went the wrong path of a puffer fish or something. I said, if I lived upstairs, I wouldn't come down to listen to me. Do you know what I mean? I said, I don't get it. And I still don't get it today when people turn up from other countries to see us. I just don't get it. Like,
It's
we,
such a cult band, I think. Like it's just like it's such a hidden gem of a band. The music's so good and it's such an underrated band where it's like I just got to see this for myself to make sure it exists, you know?
yeah,
Because you
yeah,
think
for
it
sure.
like this is a band I truly think, it's a shame that it's not massive. Like that first album is better than so many like bands who've made it big, who have material that does not, I don't think, hold up to that first Bestiality album. I don't know if it's just because maybe record stores were too afraid to have it because of the cover. Was that ever an issue with distribution for that?
I'd have to talk to Birch about that one. He probably wanted too much. I think that the distribution deals might not have been good enough for him, might not have been enough in there. Of course, when you got the Sex Pistols coming out with what they had and they put it in, like, but it was the covers were covered up. Back then, you couldn't see the cover. You could buy the album, it had the cover when you took the brown wrapping off it, but a lot of them had like a brown band across where the bad photos, because it was meant to be bad taste and whatever.
Hmm.
Maybe that might have been it. I really don't know. I mean, a lot of people love that album, yet when I hear it, I just hear like, God, that's rough, and that's why on the '04 album, I did some of my favourite tracks from it and redid it properly how I wanted it to be heard, because
Yeah.
it was rough. It was only done in 2 weeks, that first one, that from start to finish. They only had enough
Two
to,
weeks.
yeah, yeah. Right, you're in, you're out. Get in there because we can only afford 2 weeks studio time. Get the album done.
What was the
Yeah.
budget for that record? Do you remember?
Not off the top of my head, no. Birchie
Yeah.
would though. I could find that out for you and let you know. But mind you, he'd probably lie and say it was a lot more than it was. Knowing him. But like, I don't know. It was done on the cheap sort of thing because he just started the label and he had got a lot of money. And then obviously when the label took off and did it take off, he got really uh, comfortable financially. Shall we say? He got a lot of money from it. We never did. I remember
Of
being in
course.
Germany and then seeing it on a label called Cherry Red Records. And of course, I phoned Birch and go, "What's this? What's going on here?" And he says, "Oh, I sold the licensing fee to him." And I go, "Well, how much do we get?" And he went, "Nothing. It's mine." So, like
It's not your
any other
music.
countries, yeah, yeah. So that was Germany. There was like Luxembourg. There was Ireland. There was a load of them. And he just signed over the licensing agreement. Yeah, you can produce this on vinyl. I mean, even now, I'm always being asked, could we do this? Could we do that? Like on vinyl. And I'm going, yeah, sure. You know, what money we're talking. And then it
Yeah.
goes quiet. Oh, well, we wanted to do, just redo it for you so you got some coverage. And we don't need coverage. People know us. They're the ones that know us, sort of thing. As you say, it's like a cult sort of following sort of thing. Why should I do that for nothing? I've been ripped off enough as it is. I'm not doing anything for nothing anymore that way.
Yeah.
Forget it. It's the same with the picture because we got a lot of the TV companies. There's a show over here called Never Mind the Buzzcocks. Alice Cooper was the guest host on it. And there's a big picture of the first album behind him. And the comedians and stars of the day had to guess what the name of the album was. Like some of them were coming with making bacon and all this sort of thing. Like we never got a penny for that being shown, and we should have done. I mean, they're rich TV companies. It wouldn't have hurt to throw us a few grand for that.
Yeah,
Do
they
you
have
know what I
money to
mean?
burn too. It's
Yeah, yeah. And we could have put that towards finishing this album off and that. So I'm a bit naive when I started, but now, no, because most people think of show business as show. They don't see the business bit on the end of the word, and you've got
yeah.
to be clued up on that. So again, any young guys out there, man, look into the business side of it because that will stop you getting ripped off badly. Don't just sign a piece of paper, right? Because you're signing your life away.
It's
And
almost like nowadays being a musician comes second. You kind of have to be a businessman first. It's so unfortunate.
yeah, yeah, because we just want to be musicians. We don't have to spend our time looking at contracts and whatever else and thinking, are we going to get paid? Because like the band won't get on a plane now unless the ticket that we pick up from the airport has a return with it. Because
Yeah.
like they'll fly you out there and then give you some bullshit excuse, and you've got to fly yourselves back. So we won't even get on a plane unless it's two-way. Then it's half up front. So if you cancel or if you screw us over, especially in like Northern European countries, we've got something that covers the costs. So having
Yeah.
half of it up front, otherwise, again, don't ask us, because we won't do it. We've had enough of being ripped off, which is a shame because I've turned so many gigs down because they won't fit the criteria of doing that, but I'm not getting ripped off anymore. It's costing us, and we're not rich. As much as that album was good and how well the other albums have sold as well, it's still not rich. It still costs everyday living costs, you know. That's why we hired the PA. That's why we go out doing sound engineering work. I do a lot of session work and whatever because if you want to make a living in this business, it's hard. It's hard to get by to get it done. They don't see it as a profession over here. If you go to the bank and I say, "What do you do for a living?" I say, "Oh, I'm a musician and sound engineer." They go, "Yeah, but what do you do really? That's your hobby. What do you do really?" And yet when I was in America, it was like, "Oh, it's wicked, man." It's seen as a profession. Well, it was back in the 80s when I was there, and it was just like, I wish they'd think like that over here, but they don't. It's just like, yeah, that's just your hobby. No, I've been doing it since I was 15. It's not a hobby. I've been working. I got my first paid gig when I was 15. So I haven't looked back. Why should I? You
Yeah.
know, but that they don't see it that way here. It's really hard, and that's you know, my heart goes out to the young kids today that are taking this up because it's harder. Even though you've got the internet and whatever else and social media to get you out there, put out there, it's still hard to make a living from it with all the booby traps that are there from labels, management, promotion companies. You've got to have your heads. At least one of you in the band has to have that, at least.
Yeah. Just leeches like everywhere.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
terrible. It's
It's
so
the sign of the
terrible.
times, isn't it, man? It's the sign of the times. It's just what it is. You know.
Yeah. So I do want to touch on this. After Flabby's passing, what was that initial conversation like of, okay, let's continue the Handsome Beast and honor his legacy? What was that first
Right.
conversation
Well,
like?
we were working. Me and Flabby were sound engineers at a local venue, and we were mixing this band. And Flabby said to me, "That singer's the next singer of the Handsome Beasts." Oh, fuck off, you fat. I said, "You'll be around forever." He went, "No." He says, "The last album really killed me. This one probably will." And I'm like, "Nah, he'll be around forever." He says, "Take his number." So he knew because
Jeez.
on that '04 album, it was a remake of Sweeties, and it's high, it's in concert pitch. And I got to admit, I worked him a bit hard, you know, giving him loads of jib like, "What do you do this for a living?" Well, do you think that was any good? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, at the end of the session, you had to take him to hospital because his lungs were filling with fluid. Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like, I went round to hospital to see him a couple of days after. I said, "Don't think you're going to be lying there for long." I said, we're in the studio next week, so get your shit together and get out this goddamn bed." 2 weeks later, he was back in the studio belting it out. Right on the last album, when he said it would probably kill him, it did. So I think I found him dead in the kitchen, like died of
Jeez.
heart attack. Like Flabby seldom wore clothes clothes in his flat. If someone was coming round, he'd put underpants on, and that was it. Because he got too hot. In the winter, he'd have the windows open. We'd all be scarves and that because he was a big
A lot of body
guy.
heat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of blubber there to keep him warm. And I hadn't heard from him for a couple of days. I was getting worried. So I went round there with a good friend of mine and kicked the door in because I checked the door because in Birmingham we have like several locks. You don't want to rely on one lock. And like I've gone, hang on a minute, he hasn't gone out. Otherwise, the other locks would be on. So I kicked the door in, and there he was in the kitchen, naked on the floor. I could tell he died before he hit the deck because he hadn't gone to protect himself. He just flopped head first into the wall and down, and that. And I thought, that's it. I've had enough. I can't handle any more. Seeing another dead and what have you. It was shocking. It was sad. And then I thought about just knocking it all on the head because Flabby was the handsome beast to me. He is the handsome beast as far as I'm concerned. He was the only consistent through all the musicians that come and went. He was the single singer on all of them. Like, and then I was thinking about it. We chatted with the band, and I just look, I'll give it 10 years, 20 odd years later, like just to keep his name going. Do you know what I mean? Just to keep the memory of the man going. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care whether people know me or not, but I wanted people to remember him for what he was because that he had a killer voice. He had a
One
he
of the
was
best.
a brilliant singer, and brilliant man.
Yeah.
And he was a good wordsmith as well. You know, good lyrics and that. Off that first album, Another Day, he wrote that going to work on the bus, going to Lucas. And if you listen to the Lucas, was a big car part manufacturing factory, big on a big scale, and he wrote that on the bus. By the time he got there, he got the lyrics to the song Another Day. Like, and that's where that came from. It's great because when I listen to them, I know the background of each song, and memories come back of him singing them, like that gig
Yeah.
in Estonia when he forgot the words to Local Hero. Right, I just cracked up because he was making it up. So I've ran past him and forgot the words, you fat git. And of course, that was it. He cracks up laughing in the song because he can't sing now because he's crying. He goes, I think you like, and he's trying to sing and he's just tears are coming. So every time I hear Local Heroes now, that gig and that moment in time is captured for me because that's what I remember. When I hear that part and where he screwed up, I start cracking up laughing because I remember him laughing because he had an effect, really infectious laugh. And that, and a lot of the time he hated horror movies, right? And we was watching The Ring, you watch the
Yeah.
video and the phone rings,
Comes.
and
Yeah.
he goes like he says to me and Mark, he goes, "I'm not watching that." I said, "Look, it's the Japanese version. Just take your glasses off, and you can't read the subtitles. You won't know what's happening." Oh, he takes them off, right? And he's watching like this. I can see him squinting, trying to read. Of course, we've got him on speed dial on the phone, ain't we? We're waiting. We're waiting. Right? Here he comes. His phone goes off because he didn't have a hand mobile. He hated them, but he did have a landline. Of course, it went off. Have you ever seen a 22 stone man jump and nearly hit the ceiling?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? He's going, oh, like this. He's picturing there's no one there. I says, oh, you've got 7 days to live, joking around with him. Anyway, you can see it's playing on his mind coming up to the second bit. I'm keeping him occupied now. While Mark's got him on speed dial, waiting. Now, of course, when it was the second time, he jumps up, throws the TV remote at the telly, and switches the damn thing off. Then he's shouting at me and Mark and threw us out. Like, he used to do it all the time. He used to throw, that's it, I've had enough of you two, fuck off. Pick us up
Yeah,
by the scruff of the neck and throw us out the door. Oh, we just used to crack up
that's
because
a great story.
we
It's just like just seeing that cover, that first album cover, like I was already able to tell like he was probably one of the most fun person to be around. And you know, you're proving it right here. It's just what a good
oh
story. And I bet
yeah,
there's
yeah.
hundreds more too.
Yeah. Lot the time when one of the roadies he dropped a crane amplifier on his foot, and the crane amplifiers back then for the PA really
Yeah,
heavy, right? So he off to A&E, and he took about 40 odd 50 minutes to pick a cane to walk with. You're going, like, what are you doing? They're all the same. So, no, they're different, and they're always. So Flabby was shaking his head like. Anyway, Biz goes to sleep. Flabby takes the stop off his walking stick and cuts off about half-inch of cane, puts the rubber stop back on, and says, see if you notices. How's the cane, Biz? It's great. It's great. It's perfect. Something was well. All right. The next night, another half an inch. We took about 6 inches off and all before he finally noticed. Only because his hand was down by his knee. He was hobbling along. We were just like wetting ourselves, laughing. That was all on Flabby doing that. Right,
that's
because he
great.
thought, I'll have him over. Like, yeah, I miss him. I miss him a lot, man.
Yeah,
Talking
man.
about it now brings it all back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm really happy you're, you know, able to share and for other people to hear these stories and you know, get a laugh out of him because he's just such a great man and it's so great to learn more about him. Now, before we go, I do want to learn a little more about this new record coming out. Um,
Okay.
how long has this been in the works? How old is the material on it? Is it all fresh?
Yeah, yeah,
Are you pulling
it's
riffs
all
from back in the day? This is
material.
all fresh.
Yeah. There will be one. We got three bonus tracks because the guy who sang on these tracks is no longer with us anymore. So that's a tribute to him. But he was the closest to Flabby. What I'll do is I'll send you four tracks over, right? That you send me your email address. I'll send you the four tracks over. They're not for public consumption yet
Of
because
course,
obviously
yeah.
we've got to master them and that. And you tell me what you think. You send me an email back. Tell me what you think. They are new. They are. I mean, there's a remake of The Beast Within with Jack singing because it's for him as well because he was a lovely guy, totally different than Flabby, but singing wise, really close. In fact, when Andy Faulkner from Stable Road Studios heard, he went, "Good God, he's the closest to Flabby I've ever heard." And I went, "Yeah, I know. That's why we wanted him in there, like, because we wanted that bluesy type of singer. You know, we tried the heavy rock version, we tried the metally singers and that, and the guy we got singing now from Rothschild, Rocky, you know, the Hanson Blues with this blues rock thing, and that's what I really could do with the hearing was a blues rock singer
Yeah.
like, more than anything else to fit the
It
sort of
just fits
music.
so well.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
well. Like
Yeah,
such an
so
iconic voice. Like I
ah,
just can't get over it.
it uh, I don't know why he wasn't more successful. I know he was lazy and what have you, but that voice was just
The
something else.
talent, man.
Yeah. I
It's just
mean,
such a powerful voice too.
yeah. When
Like,
when Offie and Mel Basser went to see him to join the band didn't have a name then. Mel Basser took one look at him and said, "My God, what a handsome beast!" Because like he was so big, which was the same from Lord Snooty in the Beano magazine. So, well, comic book. That's where the name the Handsome Beast come from because of that saying. So it was
yeah.
beast. It wasn't a play on the fact that we're all ugly. It was a play on the fact that it was just done like that.
Just so
Like,
casually, yeah.
yeah, well, that's how it was back then. It was just random things happening that just worked. Really,
Well,
it wasn't
David's
like,
song as a title too is like the most
yeah. You'd
like,
just think, wouldn't you? Yeah. There's a few that are like that, really.
yeah,
There's a few that way. I
for
mean, not.
sure.
I like the Little Sister one and that, but that album was really Zeppelin-y to me. It was
Yeah, that's
that
yeah.
Zeppelin rock sort of thing. That's why the '04 took it back to what it was going to be, and the same with Rock and a Hard Place where I wanted it to go.
Yeah, for sure. But I do think it is a welcomed like kind of change in the sound. I don't think it's too much of a jump the shark. Like I think
Oh,
it's good to have a
yeah,
little diversity in the catalog. But yeah, of course that pure
yeah.
the Handsome Beast sound is like
It's
excellent,
just
you know.
war, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
because we just turn up and plug in. It's not like today we're going, well, hang on, let's see what this sample is, and we've got to get this sample right. Oh, and this amp simulator. What? Use a fucking amp. Plug
Yeah.
it in. Turn up to 10. There you go. You're set. On your
Yeah.
way. Get it done. That's how it was back then. We didn't mess around. We still don't today. Like, and that's why we don't need to sound check and things. Like, especially with festivals, you don't get a sound check. So once all the back lines up, I just plug in. My man knows the settings, what I like, and that's it. So I just get on there. Oh, guitar, brilliant. Hey, and away you go. It's
Yeah, and
not this like, well,
I've seen some bootlegged footage online of you guys playing too, and it's excellent. Just sounds excellent, and you telling me it's just you just plug in and go. I wouldn't have
yeah,
guessed, and I guess it's just the whole band's thing. But
that's how
that's
it was
awesome,
back
man.
then. That's how it was back then. So, well, I'm not going to change. I'm too old for it to change. I like the technology when I'm in the studio. I like the plugins and what have you. But live's all about performance, right? And if I don't want it to be sounding exactly like the record, I might as well sit at home and jerk off to that. Do you know what I mean? Let's get out there, get it on live, get the crowd going, get them, because when they get going, we get going more, and we feed off one another. Then at the end of it, go and have a piss up and what have
Yeah.
you, and party with them. You know what I mean? Oh, back to yours then. Yeah, it's same going all the way back home. Go out to back to one of the punters' places, start drinking, we just get armored and have fun. It's
Well,
always
that's
been
what
that
it's all
way.
about. It's all about having fun. It's all about
Yeah,
entertainment.
yeah,
That's the whole point. And a lot of people lose that, I feel. A lot of people
mm,
take the whole business side of it a little too seriously where, music's something you enjoy, you party to, you have fun with.
yeah.
And yeah, I'm glad you guys are still channeling that because
Well, to me, music has got a job. It's got to create an emotion, whether it makes you cry. I mean, when most people hear me play, they cry, but probably not for the same reason. And like, or to make happy, make you want to tap your foot, nod your head, dance, whatever. If it's not creating emotion, it's not doing anything. It's not doing its job.
yeah.
And for us, it's just like, because again, with that high energy thing and pushing and whatever else, people love it for some reason, right? Which I always find when I hear people singing my songs and shit, it's just like, whoa. I don't know, maybe because I've never wanted that stardom. I am the big I am sort of thing, because to me, that's bollocks. It's just like,
Yeah. Like the ego side of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't get my head around that. Never have done, never will. I mean, we always talk to anyone who pays in, especially. I paid for the £2 of flesh, give it them. They paid at the door. Your job don't start and stop when you get on that stage. You know this. It starts that day and it
Yeah.
doesn't finish until the following day. So whoever wants an autograph, whoever wants, go, can I have a photo taken with you? Of course you can. Come on, man. You got a drink? Here you go. Now you have. Here, take a photo. And they love that. I think it's good PR work, and I think it's connecting with the guys that pay for the clothes I'm wearing and whatever else, because of them buying the albums and the merch and that. it's down to them. So a big thank you to anyone that buys our stuff, who's ever into our stuff and likes our music. It's an honor. Thank you. It's an
Yeah,
honor.
and another point, or is to add to that, what would be like the best way for people to buy the merch or support the band? Do you guys have a website or a web store?
Well, the I haven't looked at the website for some time. I think Mick was running that. I think the best thing to do is to do the Facebook thing and get on there and ask, and I'll get it done then because
So
you know
just to
there's a lot.
message you personally. Got
Yeah,
it.
and I'll sort it for them because I'm not sure how the websites. The last time I looked on the website, it was the release of the Rock and a Hard Place. Wicked review, Italian review. I absolutely loving us and that. Yeah, if they want merch, because there's clocks, there's bottle openers, there's all sorts of stuff. I could just send them a picture of it wherever they want. Really,
Right.
t-shirts, mugs, candles. We wanted a dildo with it in honor of Steve. Really, calling it the Beast Within, a big dildo thing. But the dildo company is like, we're like, what? Do you know what I mean? I thought, well, look, just try it. It'd be good. Like, and then there was a nail company that wanted us to, and that was going to be called the Beast Within, to have a nail made after us and that. Like, never followed that up. I should have done that. So
You should try to get a thing going with there's this company called Bad Dragon where they make this is crazy. They make animal dildos. And you you should have them make a pig one with the Handsome
yeah,
Beast logo underneath it.
yeah, for sure. Definitely. See, that's right up our street, literally,
Yeah.
almost. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
we used to have a t-shirt with handsome with an arrow pointing up and then beast with an arrow pointing down. Well, you know,
man.
beasts. So, but
There's
you know,
so many opportunities for like merch and whatnot for this band.
yeah. I mean,
And
like
yeah,
the
we'll be in touch because like anyway I can support
sure,
the band, man. You know, just so the music's
yeah.
so good.
Or just message me your email address and I'll forward you the MP3s of the four songs and you tell me what you think. I mean, obviously, I've got to master them and whatever else, but I'll be interested to see what you think of them.
Of course, man. And this new record is you said next year, like 2025 at some
Yeah, it'll be
point.
about this time next year, I should imagine. There's at least a year's work got to be done on it. It's getting up there. And as we got four, so I need a minimum another four. Fabi wouldn't do more than 90 minutes on an album. He wanted it less, like a lot less. Oh, that was it. He wouldn't do more than 45 minutes, 50 at a push, like the old records used to be in the day. Said it's too much. Always leaving wanting more, you
I
know.
agree with that 100%. You know, bands putting out double LPs, the album's an hour and a half. You kind of just want to put in the disc or put on the record and listen to it as a one thing instead of taking breaks and getting exhausted by it. That's how I feel
Yeah,
about the Bestiality record, where it's like I can't just play a song. Like it's a one whole listen, you know,
yeah. And it's your enough
and
album
that's
to
what
do
he
that.
yeah. And
Mm.
that's if with albums the shorter, you know, shorter records like that, I feel like people will listen to more. So I think he was smart with that decision.
Oh, good
Um
God. Yeah. Like I said, that and lazy.
yeah. I think maybe
Yeah,
yeah, accidentally smart.
yeah. You don't get that size by exercising, that's for sure. You know what I mean? I loved him for it. And
Yeah.
he did do a few gigs where he wore jeans, like, because I said to him, I said, look, if you're going to just wear your underpants, stop putting your foot on the monitor. Every time he put his foot on the monitor, there'd be a knacker hanging out somewhere. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, like you could see when there was, because there'd be a cringe down the front, like, going, oh, because he'd be hanging there. Oh. He was just mental.
What a
Oh,
madman.
that we're lucky he wore underpants. And mind you, I got him to wear Calvin Klein ones, so that wouldn't happen because he just used to wear boyfriends. during that song "Give 'Em a Lash," you used to have special white ones, but you used to get lemon juice and just drip them over the front and let them dry. Like actually look like piss stains on them. Like
Oh my God. Why?
yeah,
What's the point?
well,
Just to look
he
like
was
he
just
pissed himself?
yeah, he didn't care. That was the one. Yeah, you know, because Maz, what did Maz wear? Oh, Maz had leopard skin underpants. Yeah, and he'd be whipping him with the cat and nine tails because Paddy, that belly of his was solid. So every time you whipped him, he was sort of getting off on it, I reckon. I don't know.
Is
But I
there
draw the
any like not to cut you off, but is there any like live concert footage of any of this?
no, because there wasn't phone cameras back then.
Yeah, no one even filmed it with a handheld or anything.
Nah,
There's
not
a
that I'm
few,
aware of.
yeah, damn.
There's a few photos here and there, but they're well dodgy, and you know. But back then, none of us like having our photograph taken. Really, do you know what I mean? We're not photogenic, are we? It's just like, oh, if I must, if someone wants a photo, yeah, you can have, especially if a fan, yeah, of course you can. Like, and having like promotional photos, like, oh, cringe. And
Mm.
seeing the video footage of even that rock and blues one, which was a professional job, I look at it and think, oh, sometimes, yet when I'm up there, I think, yeah, oh man, you know what I mean? You gotta put that over. I've come to see a rock star. They haven't come to see Joe Bloggs who works in the local supermarket or at the
Yeah,
car factory.
yeah.
They're paid to see a rock star, and I don't care what venue it is, how small it is to how large it is. They want to see a rock star. Put a show on for them. They're paid the money. So, you give them 110% every time. That's how it has to be. I won't tolerate anything less than that from my lot. It's that simple.
Well, as
You
a
know,
fan, that's amazing to hear, man. And listen, Alan, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you and talk to
oh,
you. This has
and
been
you, but
excellent. And I cannot wait for this new release. And I cannot wait to hear those songs. I'll send you my email after this and whatnot. But
yeah,
before
yeah.
we end things off, I just want to give you the floor. If there's anything you want to promote, any upcoming gigs, merch, whatever, the floor is yours.
Well, hopefully next year there'll be the new album and a tour to follow. Right. As soon as I get details, you'll be the first to know. You can put it out first, and then I'll put it out on social media and whatever after that. I just want to give a big thank you and a big respect for everyone that follows us, that buys our records, merch, whatever. Right. Anytime you turn up, you're all family to me and the band, all of you. So just come in, hang out with us, have a drink. Let's just have a good time. Respect.
Of course, man. And I doubt you guys will be coming to the US anytime soon.
Oh, I wish. I
But
love American. I
if you
love
do, come
American.
to Boston, man.
Oh, hell
Please,
yeah. Oh, we're going to get
please,
used to faced if we do.
please. Oh, yes. I would be honored. Absolutely
Yeah,
honored. Absolutely honored. Well, this has
yeah.
been a pleasure, man. I'm Brandon Battick, and this is Disturbing the Priest.